And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. The NPP election committee was forced on Monday to adjourn balloting for positions for presidential aspirants after 9 of them boycotted the process, raising objections with the integrity of the election procedure itself. After more than 3 hours of an urgent meeting today, the issues were resolved. And in the last hour, the balloting has taken place and we have clarity on which aspirant takes what spot on the ballot paper. Now, for the Super Delegates Conference, to whittle down the numbers to 5, there are 10 of them we know. Samuel Mbura is with me in the studio. He's been there for us at the NPP headquarters. So who got what spot today?
Well, Evans, number 1 is Kennedy Japan, the Assistant Central MP, Alan Chemantin, former Trade and Industry Minister, Joe Gatti, former Railway and Development Minister, Mr. Kojo Poku, Energy Expert, Dr. Freya Koto, former Agric Minister, Kobina J. Japan, former General Secretary of the NPP, Adai Nimo, former MP for Mampong, Dr. Kofi Konadu Afeku, Boache Ejako, former Energy Minister, and the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, on number 10 in the ballots.
So let's go through the numbers. So 1 is Kennedy Japan, so he is at the top, followed by Alan Chemanting in 2nd place. 3rd on the ballot is Joe Gatti, and 4th is Mr. Kojopoku, who is the energy analyst. 5 on the ballot is Dr. Freya Koto, the former Greek minister. 6 on the ballot is Kwabena J. Japan, former General Secretary of the party. 7 on the ballot is Adai Nimo. 8th on the ballot is Dr. Kofi Konadu Afeku, who is a former minister under the Kufu administration responsible for regional integration. 9th on that ballot is Mr. Chemanting Ejako, who is a former energy minister. And then on the bottom, at the 10th place, is Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, who is a vice president. And we know in times past, we have reactions to this with many of these aspirants now beginning to read all manner of spiritual and religious and sometimes placing all manner of meanings into the various numbers as they place on this ballot paper. But we know that there were significant issues going into today. In fact, the election committee was forced to boycott the balloting on Monday after 9 of the aspirants, with the exception of Dr. Baumia, raised serious objections. How did they resolve this?
Well, the spokesperson for the elections committee, Alexander Fayer-Markins, said that the engagement was able to build consensus on the nagging issues and incorporated same in the guidelines. They have also agreed that the Electoral Commission will take charge of the elections. Each candidate will appoint an agent to oversee the printing of the ballot papers, which will be done by the Electoral Commission. One other controversial issue, which has to do with proxy voting, has also been resolved, and this list of proxy and election album will be made available to the aspirants from tomorrow. So initially there were challenges with the proxy votes, but Mr. Fayer-Markins says that issue has been resolved.
I'm happy to announce that we've had a very successful engagement with 8 of the aspirants were present. 2 were represented. Vice President Bahamadu Baumia was represented, and then Dr. Kofi Konadu Afeku was also represented. But I think 7. Honorable Joe Gatti was also represented. So we had 7 out of the 10 aspirants present. And we had our engagement, and we deliberated on few matters that were of concern. We were able to build consensus on the nagging issues and incorporated same in the guidelines. We've agreed that the Electoral Commission is going to take charge of the elections and see to all the security arrangements as well. Party agent of the aspirant will also oversee to the printing of the ballot papers. So the ballot papers won't be printed by the party. It will be printed by the Electoral Commission. And all that we would do is to furnish them with the details of the aspirants, including their pictures. We've given them the type of picture they are supposed to bring. So everything has been agreed upon. The notice of polls would be put out. Proxy has been agreed upon. There's going to be proxy, and notice will be issued, and deadline for all proxies will be on the 2nd. And all proxy lists will be furnished the aspirants. We also agreed to ensure that the list of delegates, the album in this case, will also be furnished the aspirants.
And Samuel, what about the aspirants themselves? Some of them were there in person.
Exactly. So 7 of them were there in person. Joe Gatti was represented by his representative. We also had Dr. Cornelio Afeku having someone to represent him. But the 7 that I spoke to, I managed to speak to 3 of them because the rest said they wouldn't comment on it. First was Alan Chemantin, the former Trade and Industry Minister. He says that they are expecting that the election process would be free and fair for them. His the views of Mr. Diane Mo and that of Kobine Japan were not different from Mr. Alan Chemantin.
Everything went well. Now we've settled on the procedures and the processes for the primaries, for the elections, and we hope that we can be guaranteed a fair, transparent election so that we can work towards breaking the 8.
I think everything went well. We just want to have a very sanitized election, and the Electoral Commission is in control of the process, and everything is going well. I think
do you have the photo album yet?
Not yet, but they've told us that we can come and receive it from tomorrow. It's available. We bring our pen drives, we can pick it. So,
are you satisfied with the engagement with the elections commission?
Very, very satisfied.
What was your number on the ballot?
Number 6.
Number 6. What does that mean to you?
It means I'm going to win.
We discussed the voting period, the voting time, which is prescribed, and voting designated centers in all the 16 regions.
Are you satisfied with the engagement with the elections committee?
Oh, sure, we are. So we are looking for free, fair, transparent process.
What was your number on the ballot?
Well, I picked number 7.
What does that mean to you?
Well, what is it? I mean, picking a number on the ballot paper doesn't mean anything.
Let's speak now to the former Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, Catherine Afeku, who speaks for the Alan Chemantin camp. She joins us on the line right now. Shortly, we'll be talking to Nana Komia, who speaks for the Dr. Baumia. Coming getting other reactions to what we've seen today, but substantively also the fact that there was a meeting that trashed out some of the concerns that the aspirants had raised. Madam Catherine Afeku, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Yes, thanks for having me, Evans. It's good to hear from you as well.
Number 2 on the ballot paper. Happy with that?
Too sure. That's the refrain from the campaign office. We are elated, and we are also very, very happy that the fellow contestants were on the same wavelength: transparency, and fairness. Yes, Evans, I think the party has come this far, knowing the new patriotic party, the credentials of free, fair, electoral process is our hallmark. So we expect nothing less. We're happy our candidate was there. He had stopped the campaign to be there in person to ensure that the balloting had his imprint. And for us at the campaign headquarters, our refrain and our rebranding is too sure. It is numerology and a spiritual, and the whole universe is saying you are next in line to lead. You know the history of our party, and you know the credentials of Honorable Alan Kwadwo Chemantin. In 2007, he was number 2. In 2010, he was number 2. The delegate said, please wait for President Akufo-Addo. When he's done with his tenure, it will be your turn. In 2014, it was the same message. Wait, Mr. Alan Kwadwo Chemantin, when His Excellency President Akufo-Addo is done with his tenure, it will be your turn. So this balloting has a lot of spiritual connotation for those of us who are following the gentleman who's ready and next to lead. So it is a done deal for us. And by the grace of God, he's next to lead because he is number 2 after Akufo-Addo. It is him.
Interesting analysis and spin on the number 2. But some will also say number 2 could also mean second place, second fiddle.
Well, the argument is if number one is someone who has been in the race since 1998, then you will have to wait your turn. But everybody in our party from 92, even those from 69, know the history that President Akufo-Addo, Excellency, has always had this friendly contest with Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen. And everybody in the party was also told that wait your turn, Mr. Kyerematen. When president is done, it will be you. So for us in the campaign headquarters, our Excellency retires December 2024. The baton will shift to the one who has always been second to him, not to any other person. But he's ready in the spiritual realm to be the next to lead. Number two means you're going to one. And President Akufo-Addo is not in the race. If you look at the caliber of people who are very, very astute, very ready, proper, all of them deserve. But the person who's next to lead has been affirmed and confirmed by the balloting.
And we'll come up after the positions, etc. Today I heard Alan Kyerematen, and we just played the sound, emphasize on transparency, free and fair elections. Why is that so important to him? I almost get a sense that he may be harboring fears that the process may not be as transparent and free and fair going forward.
It's a very natural feeling when you have an election with 891 people and it's spread across 16 regions. Elections are won at the ground, and you have 10 contestants. They would have loved to meet all these delegates and share their message, even if it's 2 minutes. Those of us who have been through elections before they cast the ballot, you as a contestant, you are given the opportunity to say something. And, it was the love and belief of the 9 contestants that if they had their wish. But NEC is the supreme decision-making body of the party, and they had their way. They think we have to follow precedents. So we have to be law-abiding citizens and follow the dictates of the party. But in fairness, the party people would have loved to have it in one central location, as we're doing with our cluster of meeting people, so they get to fraternize and also listen to the messages of the future leaders of our party. That is not to be. That doesn't take anything away from our wish and desire to take over the baton. But the message is clear. This exercise must be transparent, it must be fair, and there should be no foul play. Also, we need to emphasize that it's only an administrative process. We're going to prune the 10 and get 5. The real election is November 4th. So we are elated that our candidate is number 2 on this ballot, and he will be part of the fight. We are not really bothered with the exercise of August 26th. Yeah. We're focusing on November 4th.
For a party like the NPP that prides itself on democracy and holding on the tenets of free and fair elections, and you've done so many of those internal elections, shouldn't it be the case that having a free and fair elections is a giving? That I'm surprised that you're asking for it. Shouldn't it be a giving? Shouldn't it be something you take for granted?
No, Evans, these are genuine concerns. No election is the same. If it happened in 98 and it was free and fair, it could change. And things do change. These ballots going to be printed will have serial numbers. And people have been victimized when they did it in a decentralized manner. You could easily trace that if you have an MP and an chairman voting in one region, it's easy for you to know who voted for. You can guesstimate. So people wanted to avoid these victimization and tagging people that they voted for candidate A or candidate B. So in order to avoid those unnecessary stress and victimization of party members, it would have been best to have all of us in one room, the contenders speak, and then people queue and vote. So it will be difficult for you to say in Ashanti region, these 4 people voted against candidate A or candidate B. That is what people were worried about. But nevertheless, it is a right of every contender, every contestant, to ask the election machinery and those in charge, the supervisory agents manning the election, to ensure free, fair election. And it's part of the story and rhetoric we say in every election. But we need this to be sanctified, so nobody walks away feeling cheated or feeling not being given the fairness of this exercise.
Madam Catherine Afeku, please stay with me. Let me bring in Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He is a spokesperson for the Bawumia campaign team. Dr. Mahama, thanks for your time here on Top Story. Bottom spot for Dr. Bawumia. Badoman?
So thank you very much, and good evening to you, Evans, and to your cherished listeners. Balloting is a random exercise of placing candidates. And when you have such a random exercise and your candidate is being placed at number 10 at the bottom, it carries good omen. Good omen that aligns very much with the message of Dr. Bawumia. Whenever he goes around, he says that there must be a striker who will score the goal for the NPP. The major goal is to win and break the eight. And that message has been carried through all the constituencies he has visited. And to be placed at number 10, a number that Messi wears, a number that Maradona wears, a number that Abedipele wears, a number that Zidane wears, you can just say that that is the chosen person in order to carry us to that particular place. That aside, at the bottom, it means that he is a leader who is going to carry the rest of the candidates. And we will need to forge ahead as one party in unity to break the eight. Carrying them along as the one at the bottom means that you require someone who has patience, someone who has understanding, someone who can build bridges at the end of the contest. The vice president number 10 signifies that. At the bottom, we are very much aware that it is easier. I mean, President Kufuor Aseho campaign was what we used to win the election. So the vice president being at number 10, for us, we couldn't have asked for a better placement of balloting than this number. And we are very much okay. We are happy with the number being chosen. We are happy with the selection, and we just want to say that it carries good message. It's a good message for us that it aligns very well with the message the vice president has been preaching wherever he visits or whichever constituency he visits.
Yeah, I mean, you use the phrase, he's carrying everybody along, but also it could end up, at the end of the day, carrying everybody, literally meaning he's really at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, maybe it could. I mean, you may suggest that, but I'm saying history of our party of people being placed at 10. I mean, at the bottom has never been someone who will come at the at the end of the day. So, but apart from the omen, the spiritual, the hypothesis being set against those numbers, we are also of the view that these are scientific. I mean, the election is going to be a scientific process. The data and science does not suggest that if there's any person who is going to come at the bottom, it is not Dr. Bawumia. If there's anyone who is going to be placed in second position, it's not Dr. Bawumia. There's only one place for Dr. Bawumia, and that's the first spot. And that's the one when you speak to the data. But when you are looking at the numbers, trying to read meaning, the omen of these numbers, it also suggests one other conviction. That is, Bawumia is going to carry the day. He's going to carry the rest of the candidates to the polls. He's going to be the striker, the lead person to score the goal for the NPP at the end of the election in 2024.
On Monday, about the same balloting, 9 of the aspirants came together, raised objections, forced the election committee to adjourn the balloting. In fact, there were suggestions that it had been boycotted. And do you feel ganged up against?
You see, we would probably exercise caution in trying to say that we've been against. However, Vice President believes in party processes, that we have absolute faith in the party doing the right thing. The same machinery won us the election in 2016, that won us the election in 2024. The party machinery is still intact. We believe that at the end of the day, whatever the party decides, whatever next National Council decide is good for the party. So the vice president never got himself involved in this whole process because he has absolute faith that, look, we cannot destroy the machinery that is going to send us to the election. The moment we begin to cast insinuation, to cast flowers on the integrity of the machinery that is going to send us into the election, we'll be hitting ourselves at the wrong side. So the vice president stayed away from that particular drama because he believes that party unity is important and that we must always build consensus. At the end of the day, the party took a decision on the balloting. Before that, there was decision being taken about the fact that, the register, all those decisions are aligned with the party aspirations. So we do not want to feel like we are being ganked against.
By your critics suggest that you stood alone when the other 9 raised questions because, as has been alleged, that the party machinery, the election machinery, the executives are all marshalling the tools. An entire process is being coerced so it can deliver victory for you.
You see, when you go to critical decisions like NEC, at National Executive Council meeting, at National Executive Committee meeting, individual positions do not matter. It is the collective decision. So when the issues were put to vote, for instance, you saw that overwhelming majority of the people were on one side, while some 9 people were on the other side. But even if the vice president had added himself to the 9 people, that is still 10 against the whole machinery of the party. So it is only prudent that the vice president aligns himself with what the majority of the people of the NPP believes in. And so to decide not to take part in the decision of the 9 people was to just say that, look, I am with the people, I stand by what the people say, and their representatives at this meeting have stated that they want the election to be carried out in this manner, so I align very much. So the vice president was not deserting them. He was only listening to what the people say and aligning himself to what the people want. And a leader, that is what you should be doing. You have to be a listening leader.
I mean, Catherine Afeku, so today you received assurances from what I heard earlier from Alan Chamanting and the others. It's safe to assume that you're happy with the assurances you got, and now you have full faith that the process will be free and fair.
Yes, Evans, but before we get there, I don't think Mr. Kabiru is being fair to the 9 contestants, because what they express is not drama. But that's just by the way. These are real concerns of contenders in a race for the leadership of our party. Nevertheless, the NEC listened and a general consensus has been reached, and we are all going to agree to the decentralized process, but it is not drama. Yes, we are very, very grateful, and our concerns have been listened to, but elections, nevertheless, regardless of where it's been held, as a contestant in a race and as a participant, you have every right to express your views that it must be free, it must be fair, and there must be transparency.
I mean,
those are the rights of a contestant.
A direct question.
So,
have you ganged up against Dr. Bawumia?
I don't think so. When people are in a race, they are in it to emerge as leaders. So there is no such word as ganging up. But when 9 people think of the same way, I would have wished NEC would have given them a consensus, that they would have listened. That's why we have democracy. There's majority and minority. But nevertheless, it came out and the perception looked as if 9 people spoke, but our party felt it wasn't listened to. So it has nothing to do with ganging up. Their views just converged and they had legitimate concerns. So 9 people didn't meet anywhere. They came out on their own volition individually and they had a concern that was equally on the same level. So it is not ganging up. They are matured, leadership potential people who can become president of this nation. So they have their own mind and they have their own decision to make. It just converged because their concerns were equally same. They were concerned about the decentralized approach to this election. I don't think that's ganging up, Evans. That is just matured people expressing their views on how an election process should be conducted. And it is not drama.
I mean, Kabiru, you accept that that description may not be accurate in describing the position expressed by the 9?
Okay, if you can come again, please.
I mean, you accept the description of drama may not be accurate in describing.
I said the vice president did not want to engage in dramas, not in reference to that specific answer, because the view is that the vice president left them alone in the process. But I'll be surprised that if the 9 think that the vice president should not have a mind of his own. So when the vice president decides that he wants to stand alone on a position, without fear of what the majority of the contestants would think, it is not about being left or leaving them alone or to their fate. That is one thing. If the use of the word drama is to water down the concerns of the people, I would think that I will unreservedly revoke that. But I just wanted to make the point that the vice president is a man of his own. He has his own opinion on the issue. The fact that some 9 people are standing on one side do not mean that, or doesn't mean that he should be pulled to that position. 2, the vice president believes that the party is there. The party is basing their decision on sound judgment. The party is going to base the decision based on rational decision-making process. So at the end of the day, if any concerns are raised, he expects those concerns to be discussed. And those people who were at the meeting will tell you that all the issues were exhaustively discussed. They were, in fact, not even by a simple majority. Absolute majority of the people thought that, look, the party processes as they comment should be continued to the letter. So I think that this is where the matter should rest. And I'm happy that the other end they are agreeing that, look, they have faith in the party. They believe that the party will carry on the process despite the fact that initial concerns have not been addressed. Nonetheless, I sincerely believe that, Mr. Evans, that these people are men of substance. They know what they are doing. And when they raise concerns, the concerns could have some iotas, could have some bits and pieces of proof, and that they want the process to be fair. We all want a free and fair election. Dr. Mahoba don't want to win an election that is marred with scandal, that is going to be marred with the deficiency, because he will be elected to represent the NPP. He doesn't want anyone to feel like the due processes was not followed, because he needs everyone to come on board for us to win the 2024 election.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kabiru Mahama, one of the a spokesperson for the Bawumia campaign team, and Catherine Afeku as well, who speaks for the Alan Chamantin campaign team. Thank you, gentleman and lady. I want to bring in quickly the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed, who joins us right now. Mr. Mohammed, I understand this meeting laid out what the entire process will be going into the superdelegates elections on the 26th of August. What did you tell them? What is the agreement as far as the modalities are concerned? This is what they've been asking for.
Thank you very much, Evans. Unfortunately, the party set up the elections committee, and the election committee spokesperson is the deputy majority leader, and the secretariat, that is the general secretariat, is represented in the committee by the director of finance and administration. I have received briefings from the committee, and what I get to understand is that we had a very good and fruitful discussion among top leadership of our party. These are very gentlemen who have the party at heart, who wants to lead the party for us to have a historic victory in 2024. And I believe that all the agreements that have been reached is what we are going to follow. The next step for us after this balloting is for us to have the publication of the first notice of poll. And Tuesday, that was yesterday, was the day that we would have been doing the notice of poll. Haven't had the balloting today. By close of tomorrow, I believe that the notice of poll will be put, and aspirants will move into the field to canvass for support. I would also want to take this opportunity to thank all the 10 aspirants for that exhibition of maturity and thinking of this party first. And for us to come out today, all of us were laughing, and the media persons were there. And I believe that we are better fostering and also putting force to the multi-party democracy and also internal democratic management. I think that the NPP is the winner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. He is the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. If you're listening to us tonight, you've seen and heard about the balloting. What's your take? 055-11-11997 News Night in a minute.